Welcome to the Casual Adventure Notes podcast, the Ken podcast, lazy, easy listening about little life's adventures
And lessons.
and lessons. I'm Doz.
I'm Devy.
Let's kick things off with our palate cleanser. What do we have today?
We have this thing behind my head, which is 101 things I learned in culinary school. Do you want to pick a number?
Let's go with 15 today.
15. All right. This one is titled How to Boil Water. Step 1. Fill a comfortably sized pot with a generous amount of water. Too much is better than too little. Cold water is preferred to help foods added prior to boiling, such as rice, eggs, and root vegetables, cook more evenly. Step 2. Place the pot on the stove and cover with a lid. Don't use a burner or flame larger than the pot to avoid wasting energy. Step 3. Add salt after boiling begins to prevent pitting of aluminium and cast iron pots, but well before adding food to help it dissolve and penetrate the food. Water for pasta, potatoes, and vegetables should be very salty, a teaspoon per quart of water, not quarter, as some will be absorbed into the food and most will be poured off. But be much more conservative in salting water for, say, rice, beans, and grains, as most of it will be absorbed by the food. And then on the left-hand side, it has a thermometer which talks about boiling degrees, which is essentially 100 degrees Celsius. Simmering, which is small bubbles, break surfaces but not rolling, which is essentially up to 93 degrees. Poaching, which is to 82 degrees, but between 71 and 82 degrees. Slight movement, but no bubbles. Quiver stage, tiny bubbles on the side of pot, which is 60 degrees. And then typical residential hot water maximum, which is 49 degrees, which I assume is like shower water, probably. Anyway, so that's how to boil water.
I actually learned something from that. And I think food really is a science, and I think that's a little bit underrated. I think people say it, but people don't realize there's actually a lot of logic in it to perfect it.
Yeah, I didn't realize there was specific timing to add salt. And I actually used to add, when I was boiling, say, vegetables, I would actually wait till it was boiling to then add in vegetables. I didn't realize that's actually better to put them in before the water was boiling. So
is that what it said?
Yeah, it says to, and the idea is that it helps cook the food more evenly when you put it in pre-boiling temperature. And then the salting thing is where you add, so it's water, salt to dissolve, and then food. And all that has to happen before the water boils.
My main takeaway from that was, I think what I did differently to the book was I added salt. Oh, maybe I did do it right, actually. I might have added salt when it was boiling. I thought I added salt from cold water, but I actually don't because I realized it doesn't melt. So never mind.
Melt? You mean dissolve?
Dissolves. Is that not the same thing?
No.
Oh.
Melt is say from some solid, I guess it, okay. I associate melting the idea of, say butter from its hard form to liquid when, say, you melt it. Melting butter. Dissolving is it almost it disappears completely. So you can't even see it.
Yeah.
You can't even see the sugar or the salt. Or does pepper dissolve, or is it just salt and sugar?
I don't know, because I only associate pepper with putting it on
You don't put it in
after.
water. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I don't really season my water with pepper ever. So I don't really know what the chemical compound of all seasoning is actually. I'd be curious. And I wonder if that's like the stuff that people learn when they want to become like professional chefs and stuff to like develop recipes, because they would have to understand it to a certain degree, right? Like even the temperature of water, which I know it's important because I started making matcha recently, and people say like to get the best out of your matcha, especially high quality matcha, you want to boil your water to a certain degree so you don't burn it and stuff like that. So yeah, I know it's important and it's made a difference. So my kettle doesn't have temperature control. So I kind of just like turn it off before it like fully boils, hoping that it's like the right degrees. And ever since I started doing that, and previously I just let it boil so the kettle stopped by itself, I do notice that like the matcha tastes a little bit better. It's quite subtle, but like I do personally notice. So yeah.
Well, I think there's always a fine line with burning, but also maybe is it the right word, caramelizing? Yes.
Yeah, I guess because you burn butter, that turns into brown butter, and that's like a flavor. So yeah.
Or like when you charcoal, like say meat, and there's like, I'm sure there's a line between where it's like it's got a nice smoky, charcoaly taste, where it's not burnt tasting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the strange thing is like I think that you can burn and then almost mostly fix is toast. You burn it and then you just scrape it off, and then generally it still tastes pretty good.
That's my shower thought. How long do you have to toast bread before it becomes toast and it's no longer bread?
Well, you like your toast lightly done. Because I notice you always choose a very low setting. Like normally a 2 or 3. I don't know if this even makes sense to anyone because it's just numbers. Well, our toaster goes to max 7. And you do like a 2 or 3. Whereas I do a 6 or 7. I like a crispy toast.
Yeah.
And I want obviously the butter to melt more easily on it. And also to help maintain the integrity once you put the butter on. Because the butter like softens the bread. I want the bread to still be toasted tasting. So that's why I always choose like higher settings. So it's got that crunch even post butter spread.
Yeah. I don't know. I like soft bread, but I want a little bit of the toastiness flavor more than I think I do.
Maybe
the
just
texture.
like the heat, like warm bread.
I love warm bread. Fresh
Maybe it's
bread.
more warm bread than toast.
Oh my God. Fresh bread is like one of my favorite things in the world. Like fresh bread, just a bit of butter, perfection.
Fresh bread smells nice. That's why like I don't actually care that much for the taste of bread, but I love the smell of bread. Sometimes I walk past bakeries early in the morning when they've obviously done their fresh. What do you call a bunch of bread? Not like a. What's the collective group of? I don't know.
I don't know. I just know the expression a baker's dozen.
Yeah, I was thinking dozen, but I'm like that's more eggs. But anyway, I love the smell, but then I don't really care for the taste. But just something about the smell of bread that is so infatuating almost. And then I always go in and then buy like a piece of bread or like, what's it called again? Like baguette or something. Then I'm disappointed. I'm like, the smell is, for me personally, such a major bait. And then it doesn't really taste. But I'm sure you like the taste of bread.
I love the taste of bread. One of my favorite things to do that makes me feel like a main character is on the weekend, waking up early, walking to a bakery, gets that fresh bread smell, leaving with a baguette. And the best is when they put the baguette in like a paper bag and the baguette's too tall. So you're carrying this paper bag for baguette poking out and you're like walking home with it. And it's just such a vibe.
Yeah, very Parisian vibe. You might as well get on the bicycle and sling the baguette behind your back and ride home in your barrette and scarf.
Giving main character. Anyways, let's dive into our main course. Our main course today is triggered by a series, a Korean drama I just finished called When Life Gives You Tangerine. It is a new Netflix Korean drama that only came out, I'm going to say a month ago, definitely this year. And it's about life. It's probably the easiest description of it. And it's 100% not what I was expecting. I went in thinking it was a romance. I was mentally prepared to go in to watch a lighthearted romance, cutesy, just watching like two cute characters just be smitten for each other. My default media is romance. Like I find them to be easy watch, like they're safe watch. If I'm ever consuming books, shows, movies, if it's a romance, like I know I'm going to have a good time. Like I won't even think about it. But I find that like if I'm proactively choosing to watch any kind of other genre, I almost have to like mentally prepare myself. And it's quite funny because if I knew what When Life Gives You Tangerine was actually about, I probably would have tried to mentally prepare myself for it. But I didn't, because I came in thinking it was a romance because I saw clips online and I just saw like very short clips of the two main characters, the female and the male, of them just doing romantic things, like showing how much they love each other. And I was like, oh, how cute. I'm going to watch this, right? Oh my God. No, it is the most emotionally tolling series I've watched in a very long time. It really just like pulls at the heartstring. If you're an emotional watcher or tends to react emotionally to when you consume media, the thing I always say to everyone, every single episode will make you both laugh and cry from happiness and sadness. It's a roller coaster of emotion. Even though I wasn't mentally prepared, I'm actually very glad I watched it and I really, really enjoyed it as well. And there's a few different themes in it. So romance is definitely in there. Like I'm not going to ignore that it's not.
I haven't watched it, so I can't really speak too much on it. So give me some context on what it is about.
Yeah, it's. I'm not going to spoil it.
What's like the general plot synopsis? What's the IMDb description or the wiki? Actually, the Wikipedia normally goes through the whole plot, but you know what I mean.
It's interesting because the synopsis, I don't think it's only one part of the series. So Wikipedia just says, When Life Gives You Tangerine is a 2025 South Korean romance slice of life television series. That's all it says as a first line.
Slice of life is...
Slice of life.
Gives it enough.
It basically follows multiple storylines across multiple generations. You follow your main lead, which is just like this little girl to begin with, and you watch her grow up at different parts of her life. So from being a child in poverty, living in an island, in this context is Jeju Island in South Korea. So set back in the days when it wasn't like a popular tourist place and thriving, it was like considered like a country town. And you watch her basically grow up, trying to like make something of herself, become an awkward teenager, become an adult, become, I don't know if this is a spoiler, a mum, and then eventually like a grandma. Like you just watch her go through her whole life. And I would consider her the main protagonist, but there's definitely multiple across the way. And the storyline is basically just watching her navigate life's problems and issues within her context. And the reason it's so emotionally telling is because if you watch any parts of it and if you have lived that age, you resonate so hard with it. Like the way it's written, the way it's acted, just everything about it, it just represents those feelings and experiences so well. So what resonated the most from me, because I don't want to like spoil too much, but
you kind of have to if you're talking about
but I'm not going to recap the whole thing. But I guess if you don't want any type of spoilers, that don't listen. But I think it's still worth a watch, even if you know partly what happens. But what resonates the most to me, there's a few themes. One, parent sacrifice is a big theme in here. So In particular, these guys come from poverty. Poverty? Poverty?
Yeah, that's right. Unless it's pronounced another way.
Poverty, sort of. Like they're definitely poor. They don't have money. And so you just watch a lot of parents like sacrifice almost everything for the sake of their kids. So you watch, for example, there's a scene where the main girl's, when she's a mum, she's serving the family rice. And back in the day, rice was quite scarce. She serves everyone. Yes. And when she serves everyone rice, when it gets to her, there's no more rice left. Like there's only like a little bit left. So she puts in a bowl, dilutes it with water, and then that's her serve. So that's like an example of sacrifice. You watch the dad just work stupid hours, willing to work for his enemy just to make ends meet so that they can afford to send their kids to school. When one of the main girls get older and she wants to go to Seoul to study, and then she gets an opportunity to go overseas to study as well. Her family initially can't afford it, and because they want to give everything, they end up selling a boat. No, they don't sell the boat. They sell something. They sell their house. Which has like significant importance in it because it was like their childhood home, to send her to school. And they end up living in like a pretty broken down apartment. So there's a lot of that. And not only is it just watching the sacrifices that these parents are making, you also watch the kids be ungrateful, at least at the start. And I think that is actually also a very common thing that a lot of kids go through as well. I think growing up when you're younger, you don't fully appreciate how much others do for you. You just like expect it, or you want more. Like you're a bit greedy about it. And
yeah, it's very common though. I mean, still maturing, growing up. And I think that we talked about this in the last episode where as a kid, you're in some ways living in a bubble until you become an adult because you've got your parents that in some ways protect you from any hardship. So you don't realize that until you're out in the open by yourself and doing laundry by yourself, having to pay for bills. So yeah, although there's some actual other kids that I've met, I was probably in that basket of kids where I was grateful until later on as an adult. But there's some actual other kids that are very self-aware, but I'm not sure whether that's maybe because the parents are going through such a hard point where the kids actually realize. Whereas maybe in this series, like the kids are so shielded that they don't realize that they're poor.
No, they're not fully ungrateful. I think they're a realistic level of ungrateful. It's the same level as like, I think everyday person. I think this is why it resonates with so many people because they are grateful overall. But then there's like signs, like for example, if they're going through a frustrated moment in life. So for example, this girl like not being able to go overseas, she gets so frustrated because then her friends who grew up in the main city and not on an island who are a bit more well off, like they judge her a little bit about it, and then she feels judged and then insecure, and then she lets out her frustration by going
blaming her parents essentially.
Yeah.
Sort of
it's like little things like that.
Doing the thing about comparison, caring, and yeah, we all know comparison is the thief of joy.
And there's this scene where the dad, so they live in Jeju, and then she's now going to school in Seoul. And there's a scene
it's really far away. Like
yeah, it's a plane ride.
Yeah, so she's staying in Seoul.
Yeah. So this is for uni, college.
Okay, yep.
So while she's there, there's another scene where the dad visits her. He gets an opportunity to go to Seoul, or they call it to the mainland, because he wins tickets, like him and his friends like win ticket to go visit some new museum in Korea. And the spoiler is he actually wins tickets to like a very different city to Seoul, where you have to catch like a ship to get there. It's like half a day's travel kind of Like it's a long far away. It's not Seoul, right? Like the mainland is not just one city. It's like massive. It's like you can't just travel the whole place in one day. But he learns that he can go to the mainland, and before anything else, he just finds a way how to get to her, and he does, and he waits for her, but he doesn't tell her first. So she's like out for the day, all this stuff happens, and she doesn't come back until late, and then she sees him waiting for her at the bus stop. And then she gets frustrated at the start because she's like, why did you come all the way here? You don't, like, she was actually more frustrated because she felt bad that she didn't know he was coming, but then she like twisted it and was like, you didn't even tell me you were coming. So how could I like prepare myself to be available for you? So like her immediate reaction is harsh words going like, you should have told me, like you shouldn't have come all the way. Like I'm busy too. Do you think I can drop everything for you? Like that's her immediate reaction. But regardless, like she goes to eat with her dad and it's very sweet. But then when she's dropping him off, she sees like a stamp on his arm and she realizes how far he had traveled. Like, he didn't just get tickets direct to Seoul. Like he had gone somewhere else and then had to like take multiple transport to get to her just to see her for only like an hour or two by the end of it because she was so late. And then that like added a layer of guilt for her. She started bawling her eyes out and she just felt this like very like, what's the word when your feelings are fighting with each other? Yeah, she felt really conflicted because she felt guilty. But then she also felt angry because of everything that happened. And she like kind of yelled at him, but then she was also sad. And it's like this like really like cute scene where like she's like waving to him. She normally like she's like a teenager, so she doesn't show affection. And then her dad's like waving enthusiastically to her, waiting for her to wave back. And then she remembers like something her mum says about like your mom's going to turn up, your dad's going to turn up no matter what. So just be nice to him. So she makes an effort to wave. And then you see it from his point of view, regardless of waiting for like hours and hours for her, even though she was a bit bratty to him, he was so grateful that he got to spend just a bit of time with her. And then he was so happy that she waved back to him. And then, oh my God, that like pulled at my heartstring. So that's like, like parent sacrifice, this weird conflict of like guilt and anger and when to show enough gratitude and when to feel okay and valid to be angry at circumstances as well and how that affects other people. Like that's one major theme that I think just really hit me. And the other one, which is what I really wanted to talk about, was we follow another main character that comes up later in life. Like she's another generation. She's the older sister. I'm an older sister. And oh my God, I think this series just represents like the older sister role in life so well in such a subtle way. They don't make it the main storyline or plot, but just the way she is and what the pressure she feels is such classic older sister things. There's this obligation, this unspoken obligation to grow up faster, to be the example of like how to be a good and grateful person. Like when she got her first job, she sent money home to her parents every paycheck. She always wanted to do well. When they were kids, she was telling her younger brother like, oh, mom and dad are sad, so just do whatever you can to make them happy. Like she was always like looking out for people. And I realized this is just like in real life. So I have a little sister as well. And it's quite funny because I only realized more recently like how common that really is. And then I observe it in my friends and family as well. And there are very like similar traits of older siblings that I think just transcends no matter what culture or generation you're from, where there's just like certain traits that are just that you end up just picking up as an older sibling. So
I think the oldest, yeah. Always the oldest sibling always has it, well, again generalizing, has the most tough when it comes to strict parents around, getting a boyfriend or girlfriend or, having to be successful. Obviously, joke is the middle child is the forgotten child, and then the youngest is spoiled and gets away with everything and is sort of the favorite of the family, even though, the eldest is probably doing the most, like you said, sending money back and whatever. That seems to be common. I think even if that isn't the case, it's even among siblings, you probably still think that, like, you probably maybe think that your sister is the favorite of your parent. Probably think you had it more difficult growing up in terms of parental sort of strictness.
No, I don't think
You
that.
don't? Okay.
No, I don't think. I think I did grow up with stricter parents, but I'm not ungrateful about it, and I don't think my younger siblings are the favorites or anything like that. Like, I never felt like that. I think I were treated differently, but I think that is a contribution of like raising kids in different times. And then also when you're raising your first versus your second or third or fourth, it's going to be dramatically different because you don't know what you're doing with your first. Like, you're learning as you go.
So you're saying the third one is the one that gets it the most right?
To a certain extent, right's probably the wrong word. I think you just get a lot of learnings and more experience to like take from. But you still learn.
Opposite. I'd be like, I'm tired, but the third one, just do whatever you want.
I mean, we're not parents, so we can't really comment, to be fair.
No, if I was a parent, I'd be like, this is hard. Third one, not on your own, but like, I'm just going to be very relaxed because I'm just too worn out from the first two, Or you'd be like to the oldest one, all right, you raise the third one now.
I think that happens actually. Like more often.
Yeah, like what's that show? Shameless. Like the eldest Fiona was pretty much. I mean, her example is like extreme because her parents were like
deadbeats.
Yeah, and then she pretty much like raised her. I don't know how many siblings there were. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, geez. Okay. Anyway, okay, that's interesting that you felt there was that whole generalization around the eldest to the youngest was actually different to how you were raised.
I think there's some truth to it, but I didn't feel ungrateful for it, and I never felt like there was favoritism. I think maybe more in my teens, I was probably a bit annoyed not annoyed, but probably a little bit resentful, which only lasted in my teens, and then I got better. Like, I realized that I was just being a brat. Like, a little bit resentful when I was naive and young about like, oh, how come like my younger siblings could go out more than me and stuff like that. But like when I grew up, I realized like it's because parents are just trying their best. There's a scene in When Life Gives You Tangerine, there's multiple scenes that kind of talk to that, where the one that I recall the most is when the main first girl has a daughter, and then that daughter grows up and then has her own daughter. When she first gives birth, the next day she just starts crying, and she goes, and her mom gave birth to her when she was 18, whereas like she's giving birth like in her late 20s, I think it is. And she goes, how did my mom do this when she was 18? Like, that's crazy. It was so hard. And then as she's raising her kid, she realizes like the struggle and how hard it is. And she's like, how did my mum do this? And suddenly there's just this new layer of gratefulness and appreciation for her mother and everything she did from a mum context as well. And I think it's also quite really well written. This is why it pulls at the heartstring.
Why is it tangerine? I mean, when it's the actual phrase is when life gives you lemons. Why is it tangerines? Tangerines again? Do they eat tangerines in the show?
The only scene I remember.
You know the saying, yeah, when life gives you lemon.
I don't know. Maybe tangerine's just the Korean version of it because they don't eat. They don't have lemonade.
Lemon. What?
They eat tangerines.
Juice. Okay, all right.
Like they eat it because, like, I feel like life gives you lemon. You make lemonade is a very American thing because, like, they have a lot of lemons and they make lemonade. Like, that's a very American thing, right?
I have lemonade.
Did you pick lemons growing up and make your own?
No, I just bought it from the supermarket. Like lemonade. Is Mountain Dew and 7-Up lemonade?
I don't know.
I think it is Is Sprite considered lemonade?
I guess they call it lemonade, but it's like sparkly. I feel like when
lemonade, as in you're thinking like literally juice.
like
mixed
lemon
with
juice,
sugar.
water, sugar. Like that's a very American thing.
Yeah, I don't think.
And I feel like tangerine.
You have to put a lot of sugar to offset how sour lemon is.
I don't know why it's called white like skitchy tangerine. I can only assume that it's a cultural context thing because I know in a lot of
Koreans
Asian cultures, like it's common to have a bowl of tangerines like on your table that you
Is that
like every
tangerine or
household
mandarin?
has it. It's either or, right?
What's the difference?
I only know superficially, like the tangerine's a bit bigger, right? And it has that little knob on top. I don't know what the
mandarin?
Smaller?
Oh, okay, it's a size thing.
I think so. But it looks different as well.
Okay.
I assume that they're part of the same family, and so is oranges, right? Well, let's Google. What's the difference between
slice of oranges to eat?
Mandarin and tangerine.
That's off topic. I just was curious around.
Mandarins are generally smaller than oranges and taste sweeter. The skin is thinner and a little bit looser, which makes the fruit easier to peel. Tangerines have a bright orange color. Their flavor is less sweet and a bit more tart than mandarin.
Okay.
But I think they're all part of the same family.
Yeah. All right.
So
learn something new then.
Yeah. I mean, the only significant scene with tangerine. It's not with the main family or the main character, but there's this woman that pops a lot, abusive husband and stuff, and is pretty like unlucky in life early on. And her husband, so she married for comfort because the husband had money, so it meant that she could like eat and survive. And then his wealth comes from his family because they own like a tangerine farm, but they're not the main characters or the main family, but this is the only like main reference
to a tangerine.
And then the girl that suffers when we skip another generation, so years later when she becomes like a full adult, her husband's parents, his dad dies first, so then it's just the mum left, and the mum also implies that she also had an unhappy marriage. So before she dies, she signs the tangerine land into the girl's name, not her son. So then the girl inherits the tangerine farm and
daughter-in-law
earns enough money and has enough to her name to then be able to leave him, pursue her own life after that. That's the only kind of reference to tangerine. Otherwise, the big tree that appears at the front for the main family is a persimmon tree.
Wait, do does oranges grow on trees and mandarin and tangerine?
Yeah, don't all fruits grow on trees?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure all fruits grow.
I'm not really a fruit person, so
I eat them. Do all fruits grow?
I'm trying to think of a fruit that isn't.
Fruits grow from different types of plants. Some fruits, such as bananas, cherries, and apples, grow on tree. Other fruits, such as strawberries, grapes, and watermelons, grow on vines.
All right, so it's
fruits like blueberries and raspberries grow on bushes.
Ground is vegetables, probably like carrots and potatoes and cabbages.
But I feel like mandarins and oranges do grow on tree. And you know what I'm referencing in my head right now? Animal Crossing.
Oh.
So when you could plant an orange tree. So I assume so.
Oh yeah.
I'm also playing a mobile game at the moment, and you can like get a kumquat tree.
I love kumquat in the sugarcane drink. It's so nice.
Yeah, I feel like it elevates it quite significantly. Actually, like I've had it without and with, and I like it so much more with.
I always thought it was, I didn't know it was a kumquat. I thought it was a like baby orange or a baby mandarin tangerine. I just thought they just put it in there because it was like small and could fit in a cup and it was like cute. I didn't realize that was that's its actual size. I just thought it was like premature, essentially like, baby oranges. until I think it might have been you who told me. Or maybe with someone. He's like, oh, it's not orange, that's kumquat. Because I would be like, oh yeah, do you want like little oranges in yours? And like, oranges. And then I was like, it's kumquat. And I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, it's still in the same family. It's definitely a citrus.
That's the full size. It's like, it's small in size.
Yeah, it's tiny.
And that's like adult final form.
I have a few in the fridge at the moment. I know some people just eat it. Like they eat it with the skin as well.
It's gross.
It's a bit sour. The skin's a bit like bitter, but sometimes the inside is.
Maybe that's why I put it in the sugarcane drink to help balance out the maybe overly sweet sugarcane. Well, that makes sense. It's sweet 'cause it's called sugarcane. But anyway, yeah. So that's the reference to tangerine in the show. There's a family that has a tangerine factory and has money, and then there's
that's only a reference.
persimmon tree has no relevance to tangerine.
Even though they're side characters, I actually really like their character development and their storyline as well. This show is literally for everyone because it has characters of every background. There's different upbringings. There's different choices based on your upbringing. There's, I just like, there's so much. So there's like an example of like your first love and then ending up with your first love and how love overcomes everything. Like there's that. But then there's also another example where it's your first love. It's your most passionate love, but it's not your end game. And you end up marrying and you learn to love again. And you realize that you just need someone out. And in that context, it's like you then meet someone as an adult, and adult relationships are different to your first love and stuff like that. But it doesn't make it any less. It's just different. So then you watch that, and then you watch Loveless Love and how it can still work depending on the life goals at the time.
Yeah. That's actually like this. There's a lot of shows that sort of popularize the whole paradox sort of storyline where, like, obviously in life you make certain decisions, and just say you're on a pathway and then you choose left or right, and could be like you said, marry rich or marry comfortable or marry for love, and it leads you into essentially it branches out into these life events that happen. But it's good that they sort of indicate that I think there's a very common ploy around the whole idea about marrying for money and comfort that always ends up bad, and you're always unhappy and you end up getting divorced later, and it's never a great thing. But you said that sometimes there's loveless love marriages, but if the couples have got a certain goal, maybe not necessarily being absolutely in love with each other is the first priority, but maybe building future for their children or whatever, having children, maybe then that's it's actually probably a very interesting inclusion and take, because every single typical romance or Disney-esque film, it's all about like love conquers all. You should always marry the person that you love, and that's the only way a relationship can be successful.
Yeah. So funnily enough, I thought that's what this series was, but it definitely is not. It's so realistic. It's interesting because as the viewer, there's no written bad guy. Like you might think when you first get introduced to a character that they're a bad guy, but if they stay in the series as a reoccurring character, you realize they're complex, and there's never a straightforward good guy or bad guy, because it's all contextual. So then you end up rooting for certain people, or you have empathy for certain characters depending on your own experience. And I think that's what makes the series so good, because there's just so many layers of dimensions to it, and like interpretations as well. Like I don't think every single person will have the same takeaway watching it or having the same opinion about a certain character, or their choices and stuff like that, which I find fascinating. The last series that had the same impact on me, The Last Slice of Life, was also a Korean drama called Replay in 1988, which is similar themes, but instead of following like couples and spanning across multiple generation, it's across one generation, and it's about like 5 close knit family that lives on the same street, and how the kids of those family grow up together and just like navigate life, how the parents are there for each other. It's a little bit more wholesome than I think Life Gives You Tangerine. You cry a lot more from sadness, whereas Reply 1988, you cry a lot from it just pulls at the heartstrings. It's a little bit more wholesome.
I haven't watched those, but I think I've seen you.
Good. And they have really reputable actors. So anyone who follows the Korean scenes, when Life Gives You Tangerine, the 2 main stars are IU.
What is that, sorry?
IU is this very, very popular Korean singer. I feel like she used to be in a girl group, and then she expanded to be a solo, and then she acts. And she has this reputation where any drama she acts in is always 100% good dramas. Like, her acting is insane. So there's like rumors to say that she only accepts roles where she truly likes the story and plot. Like, she never acts just for the sake for acting. Like, she really has to like the story. So all her series that she stars in are just like deep. So she's very good in it. And then the main guy is also a main guy in Reply 1988. His name is Park Bo-gum. He was a boy band member. I don't know if he still is, but he's definitely been acting more. Like, he's in a lot of series. I don't know if I could say that every series he starred in is a great series compared to her, because I think IU, like, every single thing she stars in is like, I don't think anyone would disagree that they're a bad series. Whereas I think with Park Bo-gum, he's starred in a lot of good series, but there's also series depending on your just personal taste. Like, his portfolio is more diverse. But yeah, they're just fantastic actors, honestly. Really like go into the character. IU, oh my God, incredible. So you know how I was telling when Life Gives You Tangerine, you follow multiple generations, multiple storyline? She plays like, her acting is insane, because she plays, her first character is the main girl, so the first daughter, and you watch her play a young girl, and then she grows up to be a teenager. She grows a teenager, and she grows into an adult that becomes like a wife to the guy, and then you watch her become a mum, and then when she gets older as a mum, then she gets played by someone else, but then she comes back to play the daughter when she grows up, so the next generation.
Playing like multiple different characters.
Yeah. Well, she plays 2 characters really, but then because you're watching them grow up, she has to play a different age, even though she's the same person. So you're literally watching her play like different characters, but she plays technically 2 characters, the first generation and second generation, but she plays different age group across each one, and so good. Like, I just can't recommend watching her in it more than anything, because the way she just embodies every character and does it so well. Like, I'm just like, how can I watch you and not get confused about how old you are and who you are at this second? Like, even though you look similar, I know who you are based on your acting and how you're behaving.
It's always tricky. Like, when you use the same actors and you do like time jumps or backwards stuff. It's always challenging, like you said, for the audience to realistically believe that a person is now, went from literally a teenager to an adult, or to an adult that has kids and is a mother or whatever. I remember like in like the last Harry Potter film, like they did this whole like time jump at the end from when all like the main 3 characters like had their own families and were older. I think a lot of people like found that to be a bit awkward, because they're like, oh, it's it's a bit hard to believe. Yes, they've got grey hair and got wrinkles and they look older, but they didn't. Maybe the acting just wasn't there to make it believable.
I think I remember that scene. It's also, they only get it's just in a scene. It's like one scene of them just like waving and stuff, right? Like there's no real opportunity to act. You're just watching how they look.
Yeah, I think it was just trying to provide like some like finishing point of like following the, obviously, I'm sure everyone knows what happens when Harry finally kills Voldemort. It's like, well, we don't end it here. Time jump where everyone's back to normal and life and grown up.
Can you keep the mic in one spot? Because otherwise you like cut in and out.
Okay, is that better?
Yeah.
But actually, I think Emma Watson actually did the role really well, because I remember like she was playing like that very like stressed parent. Like she was like tucking her kids' clothes in and making sure they're warm and like overly worried. She actually did that pretty well. But yeah, very hard to do and actually do realistically. So it sounds like very much what's it called? Or sort of rating the performance in this show.
Yeah.
This actress, what's her name? Sorry.
IU.
Oh, okay, that's her name. Okay. I was like, why are you saying ICU? I was like, is that like?
It's very famous. All her fans are going to hate you now. They're going to come after you. Tricks. After tricks. Korean fans are sometimes scary. Have you been watching anything that you recommend recently?
No, I haven't. Like, I've been going through like stuff that I had previously watched because I'm not really in the mood to invest in a new show. Although I do love watching, like sort of docu-series and stuff like that. The one thing I love watching, which you hate, is like when like animals are preying on other animals and you're watching the scene of them getting chased, and like in most cases they like escape, and it's always like a cute little bunny versus like some fox. You're just watching this like bird's eye view, and I'm like, oh my god, I would be so stressed if I was like the cameraman filming this. And obviously you can't intervene because it's nature, we know it all happens, but it's like intense but also like thrilling to watch. But those only last like a couple of minutes and stuff. But I've been watching Tintin, which is like this. I think it started as a comic strip, and they kind of transformed it into like an like a cartoon, because it used to play like after school on. I think it was on ABC. I don't think actually anyone probably watches ABC anymore. Like, well, kids back in the early like 2000s, like after school you get home and you probably turn on ABC and you watch like a whole bunch of cartoons till 6, and then at 6 you go to Channel 10 to watch Simpsons and then Neighbours or whatever. But yeah, I was watching sort of episodes of Tintin, which is just about this journalist reporter who's like solving crimes and always seems to be getting into middle of crimes and having to get involved himself. And him and his trusty dog, which is like this white dog he calls Snowy, which seems to be like overly intelligent, and even though it's like a small dog like Louis, like disarm adult men with guns, and you could take a punch in the face and still wake up and survive, be thrown in the river that has rapids and still survive. But obviously
cartoons, right?
It's cartoons and stuff. But I also realized how I don't want to say racist, but maybe like not. It's probably a series that wouldn't be made today the way it is, because there's a lot of like
just drugs that didn't age well and stuff, right?
Yes, stereotyping of certain races.
Right.
Like, for example, Tintin, who's a reporter, like he'll be searching for his missing friend who's Asian, and for some reason he's named Chang, which is a very sort of common name. And then he would find like, a Chinese silk scarf and be like, this belongs to Chang. Not Chinese people aren't the only ones that wear Chinese silk scarves, but that's apparently the association. Or the idea that what's it called? The whole sort of play on Eastern European being like very thuggish and part of the mob, and that sort of stereotyping was done there. And I think there was a couple of like comics, like strips that they didn't make into the cartoon because there was even back then they were like, I think when it was Tintin going into like to visit Africa into the Congo jungles, there was a certain portrayal of Africans that was obviously very outdated and unrealistic. That they were sort of
controversy.
Yeah, they weren't as intelligent or as advanced as Tintin, who was I think he was a German reporter or something, but obviously Anglo-Saxon Caucasian. I watched it and I'm like, oh God, I didn't even realize this when I was a kid. Like, obviously, and probably influenced my perception of certain races, even though like I don't know, like as a person of Asian consent, I'm like not all of the people who are Chinese are named Chang.
Yes,
that's what I was watching. Not anything that's as tear-jerking and emotional as yours. Mine's just kind of more nostalgic, random stuff that's nice to have in the background. Yeah,
still entertaining for sure. All right, let's end things with our dessert then. Dessert is an intentional moment that we like to take to appreciate the sweet moments in our life. Our recent week, it's essentially practicing gratitude. Do you have anything that comes to mind?
Yes, I do actually. Mine's all like really on surface level of late. I think because I've started being more conscious of like how lucky we are in today's age. Although, probably in like another 100 years, everyone's going to be like...
There's room for improvement.
Yeah, and there'll be advancements and people will be like, how did people live back then? But I'm very grateful for like deodorant and perfume. Because, having, BO or, that smell, is not pleasant. And so I love that, there is deodorant to help prevent that and just make people smell good. Just more pleasant when you meet someone or they meet you and you just smell nice, I feel like I've encountered certain people that probably don't use either. And sometimes that's the only thing I can think about when I'm meeting. This is kind of also particularly, not great when it's like a first encounter. So I appreciate deodorant, and it's I don't know what it does exactly, but it obviously prevents sweat. And why did you like have such a really like concerned look when I said that?
What?
When I was like talking about deodorant and people.
Oh no, I just thought of a story around scent. But finish your thing, and I'll tell you what I was thinking about.
Yeah, so just grateful for that because I think it's, like I said, it's for me, like I would be so embarrassed if like someone had that, that was me who had a certain bad scent and then they like that was the kind of their thought when they met me in association. So I always actually carry perfume around and always spray every time I like
about to see someone.
Yeah, see someone.
That's nice.
And because it's like walking like I hate walking past like trash cans because they smell bad and it's just like unpleasant and you cannot avoid it. It's because you can't really stop breathing. You have to breathe in, and when you breathe in, you smell stuff. And sometimes it's good stuff, sometimes it's not.
Yeah. There's no such thing as like when it's a unpleasant smell, like it's hard to tolerate for a very long time. Like I think that's a very normal reaction. So upkeeping your cleanliness is actually not only good for you, but also very considerate for others as well that you interact with.
Yeah, exactly. Personal hygiene, like it is very much underrated. People probably just assume it's done, but
it takes effort.
Believe me, there's people that probably don't prioritize that.
Yeah.
Prioritize personal hygiene, not just for yourself, but for people around you.
Yeah. So the story I was thinking about is because so my friend has a little kid that I hang around with, like I hang out with them regularly, and I only rotate 2 perfumes as my main scent, I guess. And I think by coincidence, I must always only wear one of the 2 when I see them consistently. Because today she goes, so my perfume doesn't smell like lavender, by the way, but I think it's the only description a little kid knows, like in terms of florally type scent. So today she came to me and it's just like walking me. She goes, "You smell like lavender." I was like, "Oh, thank you. Does that smell nice?" She's like, "Yeah, it smells nice." She's like, "Every time I see you, you smell like lavender." And I was like, "I hope that's a good thing. Is that nice?" She's like, "Yeah. So whenever I smell lavender, it smells like you." And I was like, "Oh, that's so nice."
Well,
I have a signature scent.
yeah, well, it's better than, saying you smell like durian. And every time I smell durian, I think of you. Although a lot of people actually love the smell of durian, so that's probably
depends on who you are. Yeah.
But yes, that's like, I mean, it's like, I would take that as a compliment.
It was very cute.
The fact that a little kid notice means that anyone that's an adult would 100%, 110% notice.
What am I grateful for? Thankful for? The weather's been really nice, so I think I'm just appreciative of that. Like, nice enough to step outside. And I love stepping outside. I love going for walks and like being outdoors. I find it makes me happier and more energized. And the weather's been nice enough to motivate me to actually be outside. So like went for a long walk with my friends this morning, took the dogs out, and it was just a good time. And I'm grateful I can do that. So for the weather, for my body to enable me to do it, and for having good company. All right. Last is our meal prep. So meal preps are just general goals or things we're looking forward to that we want to just say out loud to acknowledge or to motivate us, whatever it is, make us more accountable. Goals or things we're looking forward to.
I am looking forward to cooler weather and the hopefully soon to be arriving winter. So I've just really, like cool weather, because one is that like I have mostly, my closet comprises mostly of jumpers and sweaters, so I can actually finally wear them. But I also just like being able to wear like layered clothing, like, t-shirt, a jumper, or a jacket or something like that. Which I don't wear anything in summer because you start sweating every time you just step outside for like a second. So I'm looking forward to winter and being able to wear more clothes. Yeah.
Fun. I am. What are goals that I have at the moment? Maybe I'll say one out loud so I actually start doing it. So I can't do a sit-up. I haven't been able to since the start of life without support. Like I can do it if someone sits on my feet or something like that. But like on my own, I can't do a complete sit-up. And when I started doing exercise and doing Pilates and stuff like that, I thought like after a while I would just gain enough muscles to be able to, and I still can't. I was talking to my friend who's like a fitness instructor, and I talked to another friend recently who is just fitter than me. And the girl who's quite fit, like she's actually quite toned, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I couldn't do a sit-up for most of my life either." But the thing that she started doing every day consistently was a plank every morning, and then she would try to increase it by 10 seconds every day. It's pretty good now. I think she can hold it for like over 2 minutes, which is insane because I can only hold a plank for like 20 seconds before I'm like dying. And she said after a few weeks, she could do a sit-up by herself now. She feels so much stronger, and she does. Like it's quite subtle because she was quite toned and fit to begin with, but I have noticed like she's even a little bit more toned. It's almost like her smaller muscles have kind of like tightened, and yeah, she can do a sit-up now, which is like impressive. So she kind of gave me that tip. And then my other friend who's a fitness instructor gave me a tip where there's a Pilates ball, which is like a squishy ball. And she basically said, just put that like on your back, and then you kind of lay down, and then you just do like mini crunches. And then that really isolates your abs so that you'll isolate and actually engage your core. And then over time, you should be able to do it without the ball as well. So I'm going to experiment with like both and just like make an intentional effort in the next few months to try to actually properly engage my core. And then hopefully sometime this year, I'll finally be able to do a sit up by myself.
Yeah, you're kind of like a turtle, aren't you?
I'm
Really,
so bad.
kind of roll on your side to probably get up.
Or I need
Otherwise-
momentum to like swing up.
Yeah. No, but practice does make perfect. I never thought I would ever be able to do like pull up. And then like I started using that pull up assist machine, which helps you like lift you up motion, and then now I can do it myself. Every time I like do it, I'm like, damn, like not to like pat myself in the back. But yeah, that's it is funny though, because if you can't do a sit up, if you didn't really have any limbs, like how would you get up?
What?
If you can't do a sit up and you didn't have any, say, like limb, how would you get up?
I don't think I could, but I think if you didn't have any limbs, you would just naturally force to engage other muscles. So my fitness instructor friend was telling me, because I do exercise where I should be engaging my core as the primary muscle to complete the exercise. And she says what you're probably doing in those exercises is relying on other muscles to complete the exercise, which one probably exhausts you more. And two is just because your core's like not as developed. So you just end up relying on other muscles, which I think is a normal. She says this is quite like a normal thing unless someone is specifically there one-on-one to correct your form. But what do I know? I'm not a fitness instructor. I'm just trying to like stay an able person for as long as I can.
The goal is to just not sustain any injuries by doing all these exercises, so your body remains flexible and like a piece of rubber, elastic band, whatever. What's the thing that doesn't break? An eraser is rubber, but you can actually break. Oh my God, that scared me.
Dog barked.
No, he didn't
Coughed.
bark. He just coughed. He's very old.
Oh.
How old is he now? 12 this year. Which in
Beauty.
human years is 12 times 7. What is that?
84.
I like having to multiply tables. I've just forgotten all. Anyway, sorry, I digress.
That's pretty much it, actually. I think it's time to call it. So thank you so much for tuning in, for listening, watching wherever you are in the world. We appreciate you. We thank you, and we will see you next time. Bye.
See you later. Bye.